I love having guys on here that played at a high level.
Right.
So when you're talking to these kids, they really get a sense of, okay, this is somebody who really did it. You know, they played at the highest level, and they did this at the highest level. So it's a respect factor that, you know, money just can't buy. So and you know, I just want to try to help people understand that it's not as easy as you think.
Man, there's only like one or two factors that, you know, that happens along the way, and the next thing you know, you're not there where you wanted to be. And, you know, there's only less than 1%.
It is. It is less than 1%.
And when you look at, I mean, I look at the kids sometimes. I coach now, and I look at these kids.
Where do you coach?
I coach the 13U team, Arizona War Dogs.
Okay, and, shout out to them.
Yeah, we're playing in the championship Saturday.
Okay, congratulations. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. So since you're talking about that, like I coached a little bit of Pop Warner when my son first started playing. Like, what prompted you to start coaching Pop Warner? Because for me, I'm not going to lie to you, my first couple of practices with him, I'm watching like, what in the hell are y'all doing? Like, this is not football. And that was flagged. So is that why'd you start coaching?
So Gary Knutson, tight end for Arizona State, is the GM of the team that I coach with. And he gave me a call and said, hey, you know, this is something you want to do. And my wife and I had been talking. She said, why don't you get back into coaching? Just kind of, you know, right. And the next thing you know, I get back in it, and I thought, hey, I'm just going to show up here on a Tuesday and Thursday and give some pointers here and that. And the next thing I know, you know, I'm in a locker room. I'm jumping up and down with the kids, and I can't wait to get there every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it is extremely humbling and satisfying to watch what you teach now, of everything you learned, and then to have it performed in front of you on the field is really gratifying.
It is. I mean, when I coach, you go through all week long preparations, and the fact that we played, you understand how much time goes into preparation. So when you're a coach, and I'm sure you do what I do, you're at home like, well, how can I make this better?
Right.
We ran this plan. How do we? So you put so much effort into it. So when they go out there and execute, it's like, yeah, those are my little guys.
Right. and that just happened to me with a young cornerback that we have. And he's the baby of the team. He just turned 13.
Okay.
And so from the beginning of the season, he was timid, didn't want to come up and hit. And to this last game, I mean, was just watching him come out of his shell. It was just, man, absolutely phenomenal. I mean.
So do you think it was you? Because, I mean, I know this is going to sound very arrogant of me, but I feel like sometimes these kids, I love a kid like that who comes to you and they're just like, I don't want nothing to do with hitting. And you slowly bring them along to where all of a sudden they hit somebody and they get up and they're like, whoa.
Right, exactly. and, you know, the one thing that, especially when it comes to playing tackle football, you know, that I want to, you know, convey to the kids is, hey, you could get hurt.
Yeah.
There's a possibility that you could be hurt and never play again. Yeah. After we get that out of the way, that's what this game is about.
Yeah.
It's about you know, contact.
Yeah.
And, you know, they changed some of the rules and things like that. I mean, it probably would have given me another 10 years or so.
You can't jump that far ahead because you know that was on my list of things to ask you. I definitely want to get into that. But, okay, so now I'm gonna go back a little bit, and I want to go back to when you were at Peoria High School. So we can't just jump on here. And I love the fact that you're talking about other kids, but we got to boast about you a little bit. Okay. So when you were at Peoria High School, you played for a state championship.
2 of them.
2, okay.
3 of them if you throw the baseball one in there.
Oh, see, there you go.
Yeah, we were very successful. Matter of fact, we sent 8 kids, D1, off of that team. Coach Clapp, as a matter of fact, there's Centennial High School out there now that has had a great deal of success, and Coach Taylor was one of my coaches at Peoria. But we were all kids that played together.
Yeah.
You know, and
you came up together.
Yeah, we
you
came
didn't
up
transfer
together.
in. You didn't have that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I tried to transfer and get a variance to go over to Apollo High School because I was a baseball player.
Okay.
And they wouldn't give me a variance. So
they're not going to let you go.
Right.
Like, we got us a good one here. We're gonna mess up your paperwork somehow.
Right. And I think a huge key to a lot of the success that I had was I think back on it. Not one of my coaches. I don't ever remember being. I never knew how big I was. I never knew that I was too little to play. Yeah. I never knew that
Which is funny because during that era, size was a big deal. Like, he's got to be this weight, this height, and if you can't do this, then I don't know.
Right. I just, my desire to want the football, to feel the football, to change a game, to move a crowd, to have the, and I was always in positions, I was the punt returner or kickoff returner, and wide receiver, and when you're playing with bigger guys, you become a lot smarter.
Yes, right? You learn real quick that big guys like me, if I see you coming across the middle or I got some kind of wide receiver screen, I'm going to come take your head off if I get the chance.
You really understand the point of mass times velocity equals force.
Yes.
And, and if I was blessed with, the ability to change direction. Yeah. And when you get 300 going this way, it's tough to get it going back the other way and to use that to your advantage. One of my childhood idols, and a lot of guys probably, I don't know if you remember, but Gale Sayers.
Yes, absolutely.
Gale Sayers, he eventually came to my house, and I have a football sign from him when I was in high school, and it says, "Good luck in the pros." And that gives me chills. Just it should. But watching him run, it always looked like he was looking 2 or 3 people ahead.
I mean, that's what great backs do.
Yeah, and just to be an open field runner, I was a running back. Yeah, and then I could throw the ball up from playing baseball and then playing 4 sports in high school. Yeah. I think really contributed to a lot of the hand-eye coordination. Right. But coming across the middle, catching the ball, and things like that. I didn't have the ability to change a game unless I had the ball in my hands. Yeah. And every chance I got to do that, it was that's great. It was.
But you got to be a little arrogant, though. I mean, you're getting the ball, like that my ability and what I bring to the table is going to be enough for us to win. Get me the ball, coach. But it's within reason,
right? Yeah. There are times when I can do this by myself. Which is, you cannot do it by yourself. But there'd be time. All you have to do is get me the ball, and I always played against good competition as well. Yeah. We had at that time in the Valley, man. We had Felipe Sparks, Darren Woodson, Kevin Minifield, Kevin Galbraith.
Yeah. I mean, and that's funny. That's funny that you mentioned those names because Kevin Minifield, his son played with my son at Hamilton.
Okay.
So, I remember him being at that school that I shall not say. No, I'm just joking, but my son's at U of A. But so speaking of like college, like when your senior year hit and you're, obviously you're the man. I want the ball, coach. Get me the ball. I mean, that's like that Keyshawn Johnson book. Just get me the damn ball. Right. It's like now you're at ASU and you're a freshman and you only got how many catches did you get your freshman year?
My freshman year, I think I had maybe 10, 15 catches, something like that.
And the reason I say this is because you went from getting the ball almost every possession. How did you handle that your first year? I mean, first of all, congratulations because you were on the field and you didn't get redshirted. But
no, I did.
Oh, you did?
I did redshirt.
Okay.
I did redshirt, which is I was just going to say, it was probably. There was a point during that redshirt season, where I thought about not playing football anymore. It was
really?
it was extremely rough.
So what do you mean? Like what happened that?
So first of all, when I came into college, I was 156 pounds. I couldn't even bench press the bar with the 2 plates. They had to pull it down to 135 for me to do that. Don Bakke, who was the receivers coach. Mike Martz, Larry Marmee was
Larry Marmee. I played with him with the Cardinals. He's defensive coordinator.
Absolutely, good guy.
Yeah.
Don Bakke told my parents when he came during my recruiting trip, he said, "I'll be with Eric for 4 years," and he stayed there for 4 years. And he, to be honest with you, he was like a second father to myself. It made the experience. I mean, he really kept me going, kept me focused. Right. If he would be the one to check and see if I was in class, he would. Right. I mean, he did everything as a father would.
Yeah.
And there was always a life lesson during practice. There was always, he was always talking to us about, the fight, the life fight. And
this is all during your redshirt year?
And this is all during my redshirt year. Yeah, he'd come and...
So what happened that you almost said, I don't want to do this anymore? Like...
So that
if
year,
you're comfortable talking about that,
no, nothing.
Okay.
So that year, we were supposed to go to Camp Tonazona, and it flooded up there. Okay. And we came back here to the valley for 3 days.
3 days.
3 days down in the valley in August, and we're ready. So we're not playing. You're basically being a rookie on the team and not knowing your way around yet, but to watch. And thinking to myself, man, am I ever going to, watching Aaron Cox and Bruce Hill and these guys, Chris Garrett, man, am I ever going to be able to run around? Am I ever going to be that good? I mean, picking up blitzes, and that was, Mike Martz had an offense. He was the offense coordinator for the Rams.
I know.
Yeah, right.
I played them when I played them. That was the greatest show on turf.
Right.
So no, I know that name well.
So that when I got to Minnesota, Brian Billick, who was another kind of numbers offensive coordinator, kind of. I picked up blitz packages and things like that. It just like that. I mean, it was nothing. And
but in that freshman year, it
was not. It was just a lot of information.
Yeah, more than you had to deal with in high school.
Absolutely.
Because all is like, get in there, Eric, get in there and make a play. Now all of a sudden, like you said, the quarterback sees a blitz and he gives you a hand signal or says a word, and you got to comprehend all that in a split second.
The defenders are now moving before the ball snaps.
Right.
It
wasn't pressed. Now he's backed up in the zone.
Exactly. and how do you know what I mean? And I thought those coaches at Arizona State, Don Bakke and Mark, they really did a great job of not only teaching me that, but allowing me to use my size and my abilities
to your advantage,
to my advantage in that offense. We moved to throwing some quick screens and things like that, getting the ball in my hand.
So
they
made you comfortable,
absolutely.
Right. See, and that's a good coach, because if you see that you have a player who's struggling, but they've got talent, they know they got potential, you gotta show them like, hey, it's okay. Right. So like once you started getting that. That's when I was looking at your stats and I was like, oh my God, he's freshman. That's not bad. 17 catches, but you redshirted. So then your sophomore year was when you kind of exploded, right? You had like 60 catches for almost 1,000 yards. Right. And to kind of put that in perspective, that's during a time when it wasn't a pass-happy league. It was more run-heavy, right?
It was. And so, I mean, now think back on that. So you had Musgrave at Oregon. At Washington, you had, left-hander. Mark Brunell was there. Washington State had the guy that Tom Brady took.
Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe. Yeah. And watching those guys, man, I mean, it was just, man, I wanted to be on that level. Yeah. I always wanted to, like, I can play two guys. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just like the old days in this. Hey, I'm here. I can play two. I can do something. And I just think back on that and those guys. I mean, just the level of competition. Yeah. I didn't have a backup plan. To be honest with you, there was no backup plan for me coming out of college, for work or for
anything. Just dead set on football.
And not to mention, I got hurt my senior year. I broke my forearm, and got a spider fracture in it. So I didn't come back until late in the season. Right. So. Chances of going in the draft and things like that.
So how did that make you feel? Like you just got this injury? Because I had high ankle sprains my senior year, and similar to you, it was like you have these high hope and aspirations of being in the NFL, and then one injury, and you're like, oh my God, am I ever going to play again? Am I going to be okay?
So it wasn't the thought of not going to the NFL. It was the thought of not playing football again.
Yeah.
That set in hard with. I mean, I got to play football. I mean, I mean that was better than oxygen. Being able to. I mean, the smell of the grass, to walk out into the stadium.
Yeah. And absolutely. You walking into that arena or wherever you are, and it's just a rush. It's a rush that you can't explain to people.
Just the one thing that I miss to this day. I mean, when you hear that crowd, I would go to games now, and I hear that crowd.
Yeah.
And, I never knew I made my parents that nervous.
Oh my God!
I never just standing there watching the kids.
We can talk about that, about the kids being out there, man. Like my heart, every time he steps on the field, I say a prayer, and I'm like, I've never had that much anxiety when I played, but when you see your kid out there, it's totally different. Right. So now you understand what mom and dad went through. So like when you got hurt, how did that affect your draft status?
Well, so you're already under the gun or behind the 8-ball anyway. Yeah. Being the size I was. Mm-hmm. There were bigger receivers, Sean LaChapelle, Sean Dawkins. Yeah. Those guys coming out that were bigger receivers that were going. Not understanding that part of the NFL game, the business part, right? Yes. Not understanding that. I put together my own highlight tape.
So you were your own agent?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I put together my own. I left the music on there as well.
Oh, and, no. Okay, so first of all, I'm not supposed to look into the camera, but on that one, kids, do not put music on your highlight tapes. Coaches do not want to hear that. They see highlight tapes all day long. Leave the music off. Sorry. You had music on it. So okay, I'm joking. I'm gonna get a little off topic, but what was your music? What did you have? Don't tell me it was a 5 Heartbeats.
No, I had a little Sade.
No,
I had reminisce.
No, you're joking. You had this on your highlight tape.
Yeah,
your highlight videotape that your resume basically. Yes. You're about to send to a college. I love Sade. Don't get me wrong.
Right, I sent it to Minnesota. Yeah, I sent it to Minnesota. The Rams. I sent it to.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
I went to Bill Wong was the film guy at Arizona State. He showed me how to work some of the equipment. I went in there and cut and edited.
That's good though, but you know what? That shows initiative on your part. Like I'm going to go get it done. You didn't have any guidance, so that speaks volumes to you. It's like I didn't know what I was doing. I thought this is how you get it done. I want to show people who I am. I want to keep some money in my pocket.
Right. And then got invited to a couple of the East-West Shrine games.
Senior Bowl.
Senior Bowl, right. Yeah. And those games. And got to play against some guys from across the country. Mm-hmm. And just see how good, you know what I mean? And once I saw...
Because you're dealing with the best of the best now. This is not people who think... These are guys who are going to be in the NFL.
Right. They're already slotted. They know where they're getting drafted. Right. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to see just how good... And I mean, they did not disappoint. They were really good.
Yeah, and when you see that up close, because it's like I remember going to the Senior Bowl, and I thought I was pretty good. I'm like, I'm one of these guys here, but you start to see a difference between a first day guy, which is that first through third round, and then a second day guy, which is that like 4th through 6th round. Like you start seeing there's different levels to what we do. It's like you may be here, but there's Hall of Fame, right? And then there's all these different levels. So I understand because I was there, and Tony Dungy was my coach, and so you're at a NFL tempo. You're doing meetings like you're in the NFL, so your eyes are opened up real quick to be like,
right.
Wow, I'm not doing enough, or I need to do more.
And one of the things now looking back on it, I paid attention to was what is it that separates? Because everybody's gifted,
good.
Everybody's good.
Right.
What separates this one from this one? Tony Dungy was the defensive coordinator up in Minnesota when I was there, and
I remember that
the guy had just some of the simplest answers. I mean, he's an incredibly peaceful and tranquil guy. Anyway,
very humble man. Yeah,
but what he says, I mean, was like the law in the NFL at the time. What he did, I mean,
set the standard.
Set it. I mean, it was huge. And I asked him one day, I said, Tony, man, I said, how are you so successful? And this was my rookie year. I said, how do you? And he said, Eric, there's about 3 quarterbacks in this league: Elway, Marino, Montana. Mm-hmm. You just hope they're off.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
They're that good. He said the rest of them I come after. And
it's a respect factor.
Right, right. And he got the guys in place in Minnesota.
Was John Randall there with you?
John Randall.
Oh my God! That's off, man. John Randall's one of my favorites. But we got to stay on topic with that. We got to stay on topic. No, I'm gonna tell you right now. One of the when I was looking you up, because I don't know everybody and I don't know all their things. I watched, and I want you to talk about this. Like you got in the game at Minnesota and Green Bay, right?
Yes.
And so, what was your week? Because I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil. I want you to tell it. But I want you to talk about, like, did you approach that week any differently than you did any other week? What was it that led up to it? What was your mindset in the game? And then when that play came, like, what were you thinking? Like, explain that to me.
So, you have to understand, so we had Chris Carter, Anthony Carter.
Yeah.
Kadri Ismail, Jake Reed, and I just want to get on the field. So my initially getting on the field was punt returning. So I was already getting on the field that way. But catching the ball was first and foremost the thing that, I mean, if you can catch and hold on to the ball, I mean, you do one thing.
Yeah.
One thing.
Be where you're supposed to be.
Right, and be where you're supposed to be, and be accountable for what you need to do. Kadri Ismail, we were in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
and
because it was like what, 12 seconds,
14 seconds,
14
left
seconds,
on the clock, and he's just winded. He's just absolutely blown out. I mean, and we call it was basically a sail route where Chris is supposed to get the ball.
Chris Carter. You got to make sure they know
Chris
that.
Carter,
Yeah.
Chris Carter's
That's your teammate, but to everybody else, that's Chris Carter.
Right. And so Chris Carter is supposed to get the ball on like a 15, 20-yard out, and I'm just supposed to clear out and run, take off. Well, they just threw me, hey, you got to go in.
Yeah, just get in there. Go. So what's that? Okay, so up until that point, you probably hadn't been in much, and you're just thinking like, man, if I get my opportunity, if I get in, I'm going to show them what I can do. And then they're like, get in there.
Right. And
that look on your face.
Right, that look, and you snap up and you go in, and you feel good. I mean, you right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking hey, I'm in for a play. Kadri will come right back in, and I take off, and I'm clearing out, and I look, and the safety, Mike Pryor, Terrell Buckley, both had jumped the out.
Because they were worried about Carter.
And I actually thought the ball was thrown already, which is why I had turned around down that part. I had turned around to kind of take a look, and here's the ball coming. And I hear the crowd start, and I'm thinking to myself, and to be honest with you, the thought that came through my mind is, after you catch this ball, are you going to go out of bounds, or are you going to try to make it in the end zone?
You know what? And that's so huge because even though you hadn't been playing, you were still locked into the game. Right. You understood situation. You had situational awareness. There was 12 seconds, and that was like a 45-yard pass, right?
Right.
And that thing's in the air for a long time. So you're going through all this in your mind, like, okay, there's probably about 8 seconds left. There's probably about 5 seconds. Do I catch it and try to, what is the optimal play for me to make right now?
And looking back on it, was incredibly peaceful.
Really, with the ball in the air?
The ball was in the air. It was just really
It's like
peaceful.
one of those movies, like,
right. Just do your job.
Yeah.
Just
do your job.
Right. Just do your job and catch the ball. And you've done this before. You know this. My father coached me, and he was hard on me. Mm-hmm. And
for these moments like this?
Just like this.
Yes.
Just like this. And
that ball was probably in the air. How long was that ball in the air? Because I've never caught a pass in a high pressure situation. So to me, I'm like, yeah, he caught the ball. But I'm like, I've heard guys talk where they're like, hey, man, I'd rather come out of my break and the ball's there and I just have to react versus watching it come in like, oh, here it comes.
It's just a ball to catch to me.
Really?
It is. It's just a ball, and nothing hits the ground. I mean, just play. If you and I were sitting there playing a game where we were throwing a ball back and forth, I would be upset if I let it hit the ground.
Oh, I'd be upset too because you beat me.
Yeah,
exactly. You're not gonna, this will be going on, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm a defensive lineman, so I'm gonna start cheating after a while. Right. I'm gonna start throwing it over here. I'm gonna give you something. Right. I'm not gonna keep throwing. That's easy for you.
Right. And
so the ball's in the air.
So the ball's in the air, and it's just kind of peaceful. And the crowd gets ready to go crazy. The crowd didn't see that I was down there. Right at first, they see Chris Carter.
Yeah,
and Mike Pryor had recovered, and I just caught this out of the corner of my eye that he had recovered.
So that's the safety right now.
Right, the safety right. And so when I caught the ball, I gave a couple more steps to see if I could stop,
see what you could do.
See if I could stop and let him go by, and that didn't work. And I just went ahead and went out of bounds because the clock in your head goes off. As a receiver, and. You always know where your feet are.
Yeah.
I try to tell it to my wife all the time. Watch, don't you?
Yeah.
Hey, I know where my feet are.
Yeah, you know where they are. I don't need to see my feet.
And We catch it, we get out of bounds, and Fuad comes in and kicks the field goal. We win the game.
Yeah.
And the funniest part to me was I never grew up watching Green Bay in Minnesota, so I
didn't understand how big that was.
What that meant
yeah.
to the community, to Green Bay, to and they were. I mean, it was like they gave me the key, and I could go into anywhere, and it was
like,
just,
oh my God, Eric, right this way, come on,
right. Yeah. And I mean, to beat the
just
Packers,
for doing your job,
right? And
just a simple play like that you. I mean, just hearing you talk about it, I get excited because you look it up and you read about it, and you're like, oh, okay, it's 12 seconds left on the clock, right. 45, yeah. But when you hear somebody talk about the ball was in the air and I was just it was very peaceful, and I knew it paints a totally different picture because you're just like, wow, that's what it's like to catch a ball, and I got time to think about it. Am I gonna get out of bounds?
This was my very first catch ever,
really
recorded in the NFL. The very first.
That's
one.
a great way to start it off, though. That's an awesome way to start your career
the very
off.
First one, and you think about the mental aspect. There's a huge mental aspect of the game.
Yeah.
The time at which, some guys, Denver with Elway. I mean, in the fourth quarter, I mean, they were extremely tough to handle.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't care if they were down 30.
There's always a chance.
Always a chance. That crowd understood that, and in that Green Bay, I mean, there was always an understanding that anything
could happen.
I played in rival games before. Cactus Peoria, U of A, ASU.
Yeah.
And
let's go bear down.
Right. All big games and unto themselves, and I just want a chance to change the game.
Yeah.
I need to
like you said in the very beginning, just get me the ball.
I need to
I need a chance. Now, I want to go back a little bit to the very beginning because you started to do this as a spoiler. And I'm so glad you brought it up because I have these debates with friends all the time, and you play. So first thing you did when you sat down, you was like, man, if these rules were in place when I was playing. So you feel like the older game, the game that we played, the more physical game, do you think the rule changes are better now? Or are they worse, or are they just muddied the waters? Like, what's going on? Because, I mean, you play receiver. I think as a defensive lineman, I love the fact that they've gotten smaller, faster, more athletic. I like the fact that they're taking these big crushing blows out of the game. I like watching the athleticism of these young men. I like seeing the purity of the game and less about the violent, I'm going to take your head off hit. So
I do, too. As far as the concussions, I don't want guys, getting hurt, long-term effects and things like that. But there was an understanding that I came to with myself and God when I started to play football and understand my size, is that somebody could legitimately take my head off. I mean, these guys,
because that's what they're going to do. Right. That's what they're coming to do. They're sending a message, and as violent as that sounds, if I can hit your receiver and send that ooh through the crowd. Right. The rest of your receivers don't want that.
Exactly. And I'm truly appreciative of the NFL, looking into that, really taking an active approach to that. However, I feel like I won't see any more Ronnie Lotts or Steve Atwaters or John Lynch's. Guys I grew up watching that I love. I mean, man, when I played against Ronnie, I mean, I could not. Man, I went over when he cut the little digit off his finger.
Yeah. And people think that's a joke, too.
Right,
like, you need to look that up. That really happened.
That really happened.
Yeah.
And so I went over to him before I said, hey, Ronnie, I said, man, did you really cut it off? He said, Gully. He called me Gully. He said, Gully, I knew I was coming here to play. I didn't want to miss playing against you. He was always a real nice guy. Always something good to say, but, And, man, it just... That's the way I love the game.
Really?
That's the way.
That's hard for me to believe because I'm like, you're a receiver and you took those hits. Like, I would have thought you would have been on the side of, I'm glad they took that out and they're looking out for us now. And, or the other one that drives me nuts is pass interference because, clearly I'm a defensive guy and I have no idea what pass interference is. So
that part of the game now I do because – the bigger guys, getting it when they get their hands on you and stuff like that, can affected your route a whole lot. I would have felt like I'd have had a whole lot more success putting a guy in my back pocket and letting him trail me and making a move and separating or had I been in New England in their slot system.
Yeah.
What
Edelman?
And right, and things like that, and just the simplicity of the offense was beautiful in itself. But
no, I'm gonna tell you right now, I love the new game. I don't know if I would have made it because I'm a dinosaur. I'm a big 300 pounds, 6'5" D tackle, but I love the athleticism that I see. All these defensive ends coming off the edge and bending, and it's not even about hitting them anymore. It's like just strip sack, give me the ball.
Right, and so the thing with the athletes now today is, I watch a guy like Micah Parsons.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a big Dallas fan, but I'm
not a big Dallas fan.
Just to throw that out there.
Right, I'm not a big Dallas fan. I'm a Steelers guy, to be honest.
Okay, all right. I like the Steelers.
But watching some of these linebackers peel off and cover a receiver.
TJ Watt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right there. You got one of the best in the game, TJ Watt.
I watched him this week. I mean, that dip and rip move that he has is I told that to the kids on the team. If you get a chance, you guys look up this film and take a look at this. This is textbook of what you want to do as, a defensive guy, getting rid of a guy, getting off a block, wanting to go get the quarterback.
Yes. It's like you said, I want to affect the game.
I want to.
I know that sack is going to affect the game. I know making him throw off balance is going to affect the game. So you got to have a little bit of me when it comes to football.
And the best thing, though, is, a guy hits you hard, and you get back up. You go back to the huddle. When you come back out there, right? I know. He's saying, I know I hit you hard.
Yeah.
I know you should be laying on the ground and this and that, but you're standing right back here in front of me.
Yes, and that's the game of football. So, it's funny that you say that because I want to just talk about this real fast. And I think I was talking to my son or maybe at a cigar bar, whatever. And they were asking me about the toughest opponent I ever went up against. And without question, without even thinking about it, I was like Larry Allen. When I played with the Cardinals and we had to see the Cowboys twice a week, or twice a year, I was like, every week I knew I'm going against Larry Allen. I'm gonna have to get my stuff together because he's physical, mean, aggressive, like everything you want a lineman to be. And you don't want to sit in that film room on Monday or whenever you watch film and get embarrassed. So I remember just being like, I have to get ready for this game. I have to be up for this game. I have to be mentally prepared, mentally sharp, even more so than I normally would be. Like, is there a DB that you felt like that about?
Yeah. A couple of, Aeneas Williams. Yeah. We talked about him.
Yeah, we were talking about Aeneas. Yeah, I played with him.
Just the respect for the Cardinals to move their number one cornerback down into the slot. To cover. He's out of position. I felt like, before the game.
I'm about to toast him.
He's out of position.
I'm about to do him bad.
Wrong. Right. He come in the slot now. I got all the Man, it taught me,
humbled you.
Extremely humble. Extremely humble after the game.
It's okay to say you got your ass kicked. Yeah. That's how I felt with Larry Allen. Like, man, I just don't want to get my ass kicked.
Right. I think about but the balls. There were very few balls that came my way.
Yeah.
Things like that. Yeah. Because he was, just right there in your hip pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He didn't talk to you a whole lot.
No,
he didn't.
No.
But he, look at you and smile. And
yeah, that's even worse.
And and I said, I got to get my game.
Yeah.
If this is the guy I need to beat if I want to have success.
Yeah.
In the NFL. Myron Guyton played with the Patriots.
Okay.
He a great safety, wasn't a cover guy.
Okay.
Our matchup, I won that matchup.
Okay.
When it came to blocking him, though, that was different. He was
blocking a linebacker.
Safety, safeties wearing neck, right? Safeties wearing neck rolls and things like that. But him, Dion at the time, was.
You saw some amazing DBs.
I tell you, so the first time my rookie year, I was in the game and I'm lined up and Dion is. He's back off in a cover 3 type.
Yeah.
And he's backed off, and I'm looking at the quarterback. When I turn back around.
Like a horror movie.
it literally was, because he's in front of me. And first of all, you don't understand, Dion is 6'2".
Yeah.
He's a bigger corner. He's just, he is playing.
Yeah, messing
playing
with
his
you,
game at, right there and standing right in front, and snapping the ball. And I just took off running, and I got about 3 or 4 yards past him, and And I mean, I'm just running scared. And he said, Guliford, I'm sure glad they didn't throw the ball to you. I said, I'm glad they didn't either.
Hey, bro, he was baiting you into that. Don't fall for that, because I've heard him, some of his interviews that he does. He'll be like, yeah, I was running with him. I'll let you get a little cushion so you and your quarterback think you open, but then I'm going to go get that. So so we're about to wrap it up. So I wanted to just kind of, because we touched on a lot of different things, and I love that, because you actually kind of went back to some points I made in other podcasts about being ready, and when your time comes, and accepting the highs and the lows of football. Like, high school, I'm up here, then all of a sudden I'm redshirted. Oh man, woe is me. Then freshman year, you get a couple, but it eventually came. So if you had to leave the parents and these kids with like a parting piece of information or knowledge, like what would that be?
Be passionate. Be passionate about, your decision. If this is something that you want to do, you do it until you can't, until you can't do it anymore. Until you, when you're not having fun doing it, you stop. Barry Sanders said, I don't have fun doing this anymore. Yeah. And there are kids now that I watch. I went to another game the other day, and I watched, and I saw 2 or 3 kids, and I know these kids. I see these kids on Sunday. Right. But I went up and I told them that. Yeah. I said, you know what? One day I'm gonna watch you play on Sunday, man. The quarterback for the team that lost was just
lighting it up, huh?
I mean, I don't remember being anywhere near that good when I was that age.
Yeah. Oh, these kids are special.
And then a couple of the cornerbacks and defensive backs. And, the defensive backs and things like that are so talented now because they can't touch anybody. Yet they're still right there, and they're just extreme. But just be passionate, work hard, and pay attention to your elders. They're the guys that got you. They're the guys that got you here. They got you here. Some of these guys, they forget that, Art Monks,
these kids don't know
Wes Chandler. Yeah. Who one of my heroes, Webster Slaughter.
No, I don't even know who that is.
Webster Slaughter was a receiver for the Cleveland Browns, and I got a hold to one of his practice tapes. And I watched what he did to defensive backs. It was unbelievable. I mean, he went down the row. I think he got mad or something. It looked like he got mad or something, and just started going from DB to DB to DB. And, I mean, wearing them out. They did goal line. It was incredible. And he was smaller than me. Yeah. And I thought, man, that's how I want to be. Billy White Shoes Johnson. People, man, I'm back there catching a punt, and Billy White Shoes Johnson. I look over the sideline. I can't believe it's Billy White Shoes Johnson. I mean, I got cards of this dude. This is what.
I'm a fan too. I'm a fan. I have jerseys, helmets. Like, you get starstruck being out there. If you're a true fan of the game and you know what it takes to get there, you're standing next to people you watched on TV your whole life or most of your life, and these are idols and people that just to be in the same area with them, you're like, oh my God, my God.
I just could not. I mean, these dudes were like gods to me, man. I mean, and I thanked every single one of them. For creating a way for myself to get there. Right. This Billy White Shoes Johnson, he looks over at me and he said, I'm watching you. You know what I mean? And I'm like, Billy White Shoes Johnson is watching. Yeah. Just the respect that they gave back to the game. Yeah. I always wanted to make sure that I did the same thing.
Yes, yeah. And to pass that on, because, it's just like with my son, when I go down and watch him play, I always see him. He always comes to the sideline and he's like, "What's up?" Hey, he talks to me and he interacts with, the fans, because I'm always telling him, I'm like, man, that means so much to a kid who got to touch you. Like, oh my God, I'm touching a football player. And to you, you're like, hey kid, what's up? How you doing? So, that's great, bro. But hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on here and taking the time to sit down and talk with me. And you even took me back on some stuff, man. You took me back old school.
This is the part of This is the part of the game that I love. Talking with guys that been there before and understand that passion. Yeah. And understand, a lot of times, you're more talented than the kids that you're playing around. But somewhere along the line, you learn to pedal downhill. Yeah. You learn to keep working and increase your talent. Yeah. And find a way to get on the field, man, and play the game that to the guys that only played 1 year, to the guys that got hurt, to the guys, man, hey, hats off to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, I'm proud of everybody that even gives it a chance.
Yeah.
To get there. At least you know.
You try.
At least you know what
Yeah.
what the effort was, what you needed to do, and whether you could do it or not. But that always will stay with you in life.
Okay.
Which is,
Yeah. That's what you want.
That's what Don Baki taught me.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Thanks
no
for coming
problem,
on, man. Thanks for tuning in to The Route. Don't forget to subscribe and connect with us on socials for exclusive updates. We'll see you next week.